Today, during homeroom, we're going to be talking about 8th grade elective enrollment for the 2016-2017 school year. Your homeroom teacher will be passing out your 8th grade course description handbook and your elective enrollment form. Electives start on the second page of your 8th grade course description handbook, and you will also take note that next year there will be drawing, ceramics, and 2 different art classes, illustration and sculpture, offered. The required classes for all 8th graders are math, language arts, social studies, science. All 8th graders will also take 3/4 of PE and 1/4 of health. Health for 8th graders happens second semester. Just like in 7th grade, Silver 8 and Green 8 teams are completely selected at random. These are done by the computer, and you cannot request the team that you're on, and you cannot change your team once you are placed. Before we talk about all the elective classes offered in 8th grade, let me remind you a little bit about the assigned classes that could happen in 8th grade as well. Keep in mind that even though we're starting to talk about 8th grade elective enrollment options, what you're doing in class right now really matters. Your grades, work completion, meaning no missing assignments, your state assessment scores, and your MAP scores will be used to determine whether or not students need one of the assigned classes listed above, like reading, learning strategies, or guided study hall, on their schedule next year. Remember, assigned classes would take the place of one of your electives that you receive as an 8th grader each quarter. So let's go ahead and take a look at that 8th grade elective enrollment form sheet. First thing I need you to do is put your first and last name on this form and also the date that it is due. You can also make a note that you'll be returning this sheet as soon as it's filled out and signed to your social studies teacher. Now that you've put your first and last name on your enrollment form and you've also put the date that this form is due back, I want you to take a look at those elective classes that are listed down below on the form. First thing I want you to think about are the elective classes that you've already taken or are going to take 4th quarter in 7th grade. Keep in mind that elective classes like baking, making meals, sewing and decorating, and also art classes like drawing and ceramics can only be taken one time. So if you are in any of those classes in your 7th grade year, you cannot take them in 8th grade. So go ahead now and cross out those classes if you've already taken them so you don't put them down for options. Just like in 7th grade, of course, there are classes that can be taken more than one time. Those classes are band, choir, and orchestra. They can be taken 1, 2, 3/4, or all year long. Technology is also a class that can be taken up to 6 times between your 7th and 8th grade year at Eisenhower, so you could also write technology down more than one time as well. 2 elective classes that are offered for 8th graders only are cooking and office aide. Remember, for a student to be eligible to be an office aide, they have to stay academically eligible, meaning they can't have any Fs, and they also have to have good behavior, meaning limited to no office referrals. Spanish is also a class that will be offered to 8th graders only. This would be a year-long course, meaning it would take up 4 spots on your elective enrollment sheet. We're hopeful that even though exploring foreign language, Spanish communications, and Spanish weren't offered this year, that we will be able to offer those next year. While reading will still be a required class for some students who are reading below grade level, we also will have a new option for an elective next year where reading can be selected for students who enjoy literature and reading and would like the opportunity to take part in the possible activities that are listed in the course description handbook. If you're interested in this course, you can write it down 1 to 4 times on your elective enrollment sheet. We are excited to be piloting this reading option at Eisenhower next year, so if you have questions about it or want more information, feel free to see Mrs. Bunter. So your assignment will be to take this elective enrollment sheet home, fill it out completely with your parent or guardian, and bring it back signed by your parent or guardian before the date that it is due. Keep in mind that you need to write down your course name and course number when you are rank ordering in order of preference your elective classes from next year. Remember, rank order means the first class that you write down is your number one choice, the class that you want the most. Then write your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth options. Also remember, after you've written down 8 options, you need to give me 4 alternate choices. Alternates just need to be thought about as being your 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th choice. You should have already gone through and crossed out any classes that you have already taken this year that we discussed could not be repeated, so you aren't tempted to accidentally write them down as an option to the left. Remember, if that class has a 1 behind it and you took it in 7th grade, you cannot take it again as an 8th grader. As you start to make your way through the list and decide the order in which you're going to place your classes, pay careful attention to the number in parentheses listed behind the class. If it has a 1 behind it, that means you can only take the class 1 time. That also means you can only list that class 1 time total on your elective enrollment sheet. Those classes that we discussed before that can be taken more than 1 time will have a 1 through 4 in parentheses behind them. And you'll also notice they have 4 course numbers along with them. If you're wanting to take choir 4 times next year, let's say, you'll need to write down choir and the course number 4 times on your elective enrollment sheet, like in this example. So your homework is to take this sheet home, fill it out with your parent or guardian, have them sign it, and bring it back to your social studies teacher. I would advise you to get this done as soon as possible and not wait until the deadline to bring these back. Mrs. Bunger will be meeting with your team during your social studies hours during the dates listed below, and we will be taking this information and be putting it into the computer. Even if you might be moving over the summer, I still want you to go ahead and fill out this sheet and turn it back in. Plans can change, and we always send along all of your enrollment information to the next school, so go ahead and fill this out just in case. One last time, here are the due dates for your elective enrollment sheets. Be sure to take these home tonight along with your course description book and go over them with your parent or guardian so they can sign it and you can bring it back to your social studies teacher by the due date listed above. If you have any questions about the elective enrollment sheet or anything in the course description book, Mrs. Bunger is happy to help you. This is the end of our 8th grade elective enrollment talk today. Thanks for listening, and as always, it's great to be an Eagle.